Hey, welcome to Uncommon Analysis. I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about what we just witnessed before Christmas. I wanted to talk about before Christmas, but I wanted to give it a few days to simmer because I don't like to make commentary generally as things are in flux because you got to process it a little bit. And I don't want to be just a reactionary channel. That I hopefully that's not that I'll never do a reactionary video to something going on, but that's not my goal here. Um, so in case you missed it, as usual, Congress didn't pass a budget by September 30th. So the government was going to run out of money. And they tried to pass a continuing resolution, some 1,550 pages. It was crazy, full of all kinds of pork, pay raises for Congress. You know, the usual fare. Not a continuing resolution of like a simple continuing resolution where we will continue to fund everything we're currently funding for the next 3 months at current levels or with a slight increase for inflation. No, it was a pork shove it all in there bill. Um, and of course, there was pushback that happened. Trump, Elon, others pushed back on this. They put forth their own bill. That bill didn't pass. And then eventually we wound up, and a few days later, after all this bunch of drama, with what literally is a 120-page bill versus the 1,550-page bill. This is a massive, massive victory. I don't care what any of the punditry says out there. And it could only have happened because of a convergence of a bunch of things. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Not so much the bill itself, though it is a wonderful thing that 1,500 pages of pork was turned into 100 pages, 120 pages. I mean, frankly, it could be even shorter than that as far as I'm concerned. But I'll take a 120-page bill, and I think most Americans would take a 120-page bill. It just basically says keep funding the government as is, roughly, for the next couple months, rather than here's 1,500 pages of every pork project, raises for politicians, and all kinds of other stuff. And I would say that's the general consensus of most Americans. The punditry, of course, left wing punditry went and had a field day with this because when the original step up happened, oh my goodness, it was the end of the world. We're going to go out of money. They're going to run out of money. They're going to stop paying. It's going to look terrible. And Republicans took it on the chin last time they forced a shutdown. So it was risky to potentially be facing a shutdown. It was certainly risky. The last time, if you're old enough to recall, Cruz played games with the continuing resolution, and they ended up not passing it. And we had a government shutdown, and of course, the press just spun it like crazy that everything in the world it was Republicans' fault, which technically they stopped the resolution from passing. So yes, it was indeed their fault. But the Democrats did all kinds of crazy stuff, right? They went out there and closed public parks, right? They put barriers up around the national monuments in D.C. All kinds of insane. They had nothing to do with no funding, but they wanted to make people feel as if it was bad. And they wanted video of all this crap so they could spin it just horribly. So it was a risky move to risk a shutdown. But the calculus is much different today than it would have been in back then. It's hugely different. This is the post-Trump era. This is the Trump era. This is not, and more importantly, it's the post-mainstream media era, and that's the bigger of the two. Those things combined. You have Trump, who's a unique political figure in America, for sure. There's no one that's been like him in my lifetime or even close, and whether you like him or not, and the mainstream media's influence is waned. It is nowhere near what it once was. Their ability to spin this, had it come to that, I don't know. But it was a risky move, and it was a gutsy move, and it's why Trump is who he is. It's not surprising. Um, but anyway, the things that had to happen, first of all, you have to understand that many things had to happen for this to go down the way it did. One, you have to have a absolutely illegitimate administration with a dementia puppet being paraded around as the president, which we do have. I mean, Biden is not the president. He's the president in name only. He is a dementia puppet. Every conspiracy theory that told you this and told you he was incompetent and incapable has pretty much been verified in the last couple of weeks as these news reports that should have come out 5 years ago come out telling you that, yeah, Biden's not mentally there. He's not mentally capable. His advisors are making decisions that they have no business making. They're running the show. They're unelected. They're unaccountable. And, Biden is basically just a puppet. And I'm sure he's even worse now because dementia is a progressive disease. So 5 years later, it's probably even worse. So he's AWOL, right? What president would sit by and let some other guy, the next president, come along and just basically be the center of attention? But that's really what happened. Trump stepped up because there is a vacuum here. Because Biden is a pathetic, pathetic's not a right word for him, weak and pitiable man. This administration was elderly abuse from day one. In 2020, it was elderly abuse. Running this doddering old fool as a presidential candidate it's just been abuse. This whole entire administration has been elderly abuse, period. So because there is a vacuum, because Biden is not capable or competent, Trump can basically wield influence that, he shouldn't really be able to do if you think about it. He's not in office yet. But he's able to do it because, well, you have a weak, empty administration. You have no president right now. We effectively have had no president for 4 years. And I don't care what the media tells you. That's the truth. He is a puppet. He's always been a puppet. And unelected folks are pulling the strings. And always have been. So Trump is able to come in. That's one of the reasons. So Trump's able to come in and do what he did. He's not president yet. He has no official power yet. But he can do the things he's doing right now because we really, truly do not have a strong and have not had a strong person or even a president at all, for really. We have a president in name only. And that's one of the reasons this happened. Another reason why this happens is because Trump is a very unique figure in politics. He is a risk taker, which is very unusual in politics, in American politics. They really aren't risk-taking people. They are, for lack of a better term, cowardly people. They are herd mentality people. They aren't willing to fight strong fights. They're, let's go along to get along. And this is just the way it is. No one wants to rock the boat. You think Trump has taken risks his entire political career and probably in his entire personal career as well. Sometimes they won, sometimes they lose. The left likes to pick on the times that his risks, he's taken risks and failed. But overall, over his career, most of his risks have been successful. And that's anybody's life, right? If you're out there taking risks, you're going to have successes and failures. And hopefully, if you're persistent enough and brave enough, you'll have more wins and losses at the end of the day. So Trump being willing to take risks is another reason we are where we are. Most would not. Most would not take this risk. But he was willing to take the risk of a government shutdown. He was willing to put his money where the mouth is, even though he's not an offset. He could have spent his political capital on this and totally gotten burned. Completely gotten burned. But he was willing to do it. So that's the second thing that allowed this to happen. And the third thing is you have Elon Musk, who, for better or worse, is also a unique figure in the American social world, social consciousness. This man, whether you like him or hate him, has accomplished a lot, and he is a visionary. Whether you like the man or not, you cannot deny that. Let's face it, where would NASA be? Where would be? I mean, this man has done more for space exploration in a couple of decades than we have seen in a long, long time. In fact, I don't know if you ever saw the interview of Musk when he was starting to get SpaceX and trying to get things done, and the establishment folks came out and just bashed what he was doing. And he was upset. He was honestly hurt because there were people he viewed as heroes bashing him. And he really just said, I wish they would come see what we're doing. That was his, I wish they really honestly come see what we're doing rather than just listen to what they're being told on Capitol Hill. His influence in this is unique as well. I mean, you had this convergence, like I said, you had this convergence of things that had to go right for this to happen. And finally, Trump, because of who Trump is, he has the authority. He can march in and say, look, and Elon too, because he's got the money, whether you like that or not. He can march in and say, look, you fight me on this, I will primary you. And let's look at the cases of what happens when you go against Trump. It's usually not a good outcome. It usually is not a good outcome. Now, whether you think that's good for the country or not, that's up to debate. But Trump is a very unique individual in the political consciousness. those that have opposed him, particularly Republicans, quote unquote, that have opposed him, most of them have paid a very heavy price. And that's just the truth. You have to like it, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like it. I mean, if you're a never Trumper, if you're somebody like those folks over at Bulwark or Bill Kristol or any of those, wish the world was still Romney, Jeb Bush, Liz Cheney type Republicans, you don't like Trump, obviously. But that's just not where the world is anymore. If you're a uniparty Republican, if you're a rhino Republican, if you're a pre-Trump Republican, um, and that's the world you want to return to, that world is gone. And if you aren't willing to understand that yet at this point, there's no hope for you. That's not coming back. So we have this unique experience that happened. And this could have only happened with Trump at the helm. This really could have only happened at Trump at the helm. But it also would only happen because we don't really have a president. We have a weak and sad man being dotted around and pulled out pretending to be president. And you have this third thing where Elon Musk is saying no. He got involved as well. Now, Elon Musk in of himself couldn't have done this. Trump in of himself probably couldn't have done this. All three of these things probably had to converge at the same time, which is why it's a very unique situation. But it's a win. It's a win. You cannot look at this as win. This article here I have on the screen is actually from The Hill. Um, talking about how it's a win on points. I think it's a win, period. Now, I don't know where the world's going to go, but I think most Americans would say that's a pretty big win, and Trump's not even in office yet. So it's going to be real interesting to see. Now, the left obviously is beside itself. They're clutching their pearls because Elon Musk is a rich man. He's got a lot of influence, which is true. But they turn the corner, ignore the fact that their own president, quote unquote, hasn't been running the show for the last 4 years because he's incapable of running the show. So they're outraged a bit much. They ignore the fact they're pretty much owned by Soros and most of the other oligarchs. A lot of the very, very wealthy moved over to the Democratic side in the last 10 years. They are controlled by corporate greed. They are not the working class. They are not supporting the working class, which is why they're losing the working class, which is why they lost this election, which is why Trump continues to gain voters. Republicans continue to shift. Now, politics is always shifting. So Lord knows where things are going to be 5, 10, 20 years from now. But the realignment of the Republican Party under Trump is massive, and it should not be understated. This is something that could only happen with Trump. And it can only happen with Trump and these other things happening as well. If Trump tried to step up and Biden was a strong leader and capable and competent and not a decrepit old man, this would have likely never happened. Because a strong president said, know your lane, you're not president yet. But as we know, they're keeping Biden under wraps. He's nowhere to be seen. Trump pretty much is the president at this point, though he's not in office yet. The world has accepted him and understands he's the leader of the free world. He's the leader of the United States, even if it's not official yet. They've all understand this. They're not stupid. They understand this is the future. Whether they like it or not, that is where we are. For 4 years, Trump is going to be president. There's no point in humoring Biden or the people around him because they are just weak, pathetic people. They're going to be gone. Biden's being used and doing all this stuff, right? All these pardons and crazy and trying to set things up to impede Trump's success when he gets in office. But it'll largely fail. And most of it's just not even Biden doing. I mean, Biden's the person signing the papers, but like I said, I think his brain's fried. I don't think he knows where he is. It's the people around him and the unelected folks that back him that are the people doing this, not Biden himself, because like Biden's mental capacity is just not there. So, but they're going to keep doing it because that's how it is. Just, they're petty, small people. They should have never been in office. The American people were lied to. This has been an illegitimate and fake administration from day one. We really have not had a president for the last 4 years. And they want to attack Trump and try to do whatever they need to do to try to gain points with their base. Do whatever you want to do, guys, but everybody sees through it. Other than the Kool-Aid drinkers, the far left Kool-Aid drinkers, everybody has seen through it at this point. So anyway, I think it's unique. I think it was kind of crazy. I think it's a big win for Trump right out of the gate. He's not even in presidency yet. Do you agree? I think it's a huge win. 1,500 pages of pork and bloat down to 120 pages of a real continuing resolution. That's a huge win. We'll see what happens. Now, we'll see what happens going forward, but I'm excited about the next 4 years. I don't think it's going to be perfect. Nothing ever is. But I'm sure got more excitement for the next 4 years and faith that things are going to get better than we've seen in the last 4. You agree? Disagree? Make some comments. If you like this kind of video, please like, subscribe, click notifications, share with your friends. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. I'm out.